Progress. Okay. Hello again, ladies and gentlemen. So this is Tommy Mcguire. He interviewed me. You might have seen the clip on my channel where Tommy interviewed me. It was a while ago now. Sorry, I interviewed Tommy.
Oh,
I beg
you
your pardon.
interviewed me.
Yeah. I'm getting confused already. So I interviewed you about your Kundalini process, which is absolutely fascinating. And that video got a lot of likes, a lot of comments on my channel. And we've been meaning to do this again for a long time, but we just haven't been able to set it up or sort it out. And there was always some spanner in the works. So I think hopefully today, fingers crossed. But what we're going to do today, we're going to switch things around. So Tommy's going to interview me. And if this goes well, we'll just keep doing these. I think that's the plan, because there's so much to say. I mean, you could talk about the topic of Kundalini forever. And particularly at this moment in time, I believe anyway, that I'm seeing a real ramp up in people waking up all over the planet,
Right.
having awakenings, whether a Kundalini awakening or there are different types of awakening, even though I believe it's all kind of Kundalini in a sense. But also, I was talking to someone recently, and they were saying that you know how like there's a kind of exponential growth curve of the Kundalini, as it a bit like technology, where it's like, okay, we've got horses and carts, and then a little bit down the line, we've got an aeroplane or whatever, and then it hits this kind of exponent, and shit goes crazy. And I feel like,
Compound interest. Yes.
yeah, I feel from what I've been listening to that it's kind of similar with Kundalini, that in the old days there'd be one guy, like a guru or a master, and people go, what the hell happened here? And people kind of gathered around. That's happening now on a larger scale, and people's awakenings are
Right.
kind of going quicker. So if you have an awakening and then you normally say it takes you like 5 years to reach a point of relative stability. Now I think it's kind of
Yeah.
it's like now it's 3 years or it could be two, so that I do think from what I've been listening to that there's this kind of so it's a good time to talk about this, is what I'm saying. So this is what we're doing here. Essentially, we're trying to just raise awareness about this. We're trying to say that this is a real thing. It's not a joke. It's not woo woo. It's happening. You can research it, and
Right.
it's we're here and we're not going away. So that's the point of these
Yeah.
videos, if there is a point. It's also just a
Right.
chat and a laugh. So anyway, all right. So that being said, over to you, my friend. So
All right, let's go.
right.
So the first, I want to start at the beginning. When this happened from here, it was like a white light experience. It really was. I wasn't on a path. There was nothing, it just spontaneously began. But I know that that's not how it happens for everybody. And that's my favorite part about this is learning how this comes about in people's lives and what was going on. So let's start from the beginning and tell us what happened.
So, similar to you, I knew nothing. I mean, I always considered myself a spiritual person. When people always asked, are you religious? I would always say I'm spiritual, but not religious, which is kind of what, some people not take offense to that, but find that kind of annoying. But so I had my own. I was very inquisitive. I was very like I felt like I needed to figure out the nature of reality. You know what I mean? I was very, if I would take plant medicine, I was like I wanted to find God. Like there was a real urge, I think, a real seeking, a potent, powerful need to like get to find truth, whatever that meant. I didn't even know what truth was, but like, and I suppose it comes from a feeling of being not comfortable. I wasn't comfortable as a teenager, a lot of depression, and that changed when I went to drama school because suddenly I was in my element and I was with people that were quite wild like me, and I didn't feel judged, and I kind of found my friendship group, and then I had all these sorts of different experiences with plant medicine. And obviously, a lot of it was just hedonism. I was going out and I would, someone would give me ecstasy and I would just be like, oh my God, I would just have these introverted experiences. So a lot of it kind of started, I had a series of awakenings, I would say, which I only use that terminology looking back. I wasn't calling it that at the time. I was just finding stuff that I was interested in. But you could say that my first awakening was when I took magic mushrooms because I just couldn't believe the nature of the experience. I just couldn't believe what was happening. And And the day after, I was just sat going, this is crazy. And so I was an investigator. So I would go to like bookshops and look into like Buddhism, and it was all, there was something in there that I was resonating with. I didn't know what, because all these old texts, there's a lot of Sanskrit, and it's very, culturally dependent and it's very, I found it really difficult to things like the Bhagavad Gita or things like, which is a great book actually, but the stuff I was reading was kind of impenetrable, and in the end I had to kind of put it all down. But I was researching this stuff, and then and this is very common for people who have awakenings. Eckhart Tolle's books, and I've talked to so many people, and The Power of Now, his
Wow.
follow-up book. It's a catalyst. Those books, I highly recommend them. And if any video about to do with Eckhart Tolle, his seminars and all this stuff, that was a huge catalyst. And with my flatmates as well, we were all into this stuff together. So we would talk about
Cool.
it. I would just read his books, and just beginning to understand that I'm not my thoughts, or this idea of there being a witness. And of course I had crazy brain, and I think that was part of my depression, or perhaps an effect of my depression, that I just couldn't stop thinking. I had like the craziest brain, that there was no space. It was just noise, 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 noise. So then I thought, okay, well, I've read this book. I can start practicing presence now. And that's what I started doing. I just started bringing my attention to my breath. And I was way too ADD, way too thirsty for the next moment to get somewhere in time. There's something to fulfill me. Not this, not this. What's the next thing? What's the next thing? I was so much like that I couldn't, it was never going to happen. I was never going to be able to like sit for an hour, light a candle and meditate for an hour. It was just being chaos. And then the first time I tried to do that, I went into my mind. And honestly, I had to come straight out, because it was like one-man bands playing, voices in the background, song, noise, thoughts. And I just thought, this is insane. So I was like, well, what can I do? And I thought, well, I'll take Eckhart Tolle's suggestion. So I'll just focus on my breath whenever I think about it, whenever I'm out on the town, on a bus, on a train, waiting. Instead of getting into that nervous, agitated kind of energy, I started practicing presence by returning attention to the breath, or to the inner body, the chi energy, which you can sometimes feel. So I did that for years, for a long time. And it is just this presence practice, mindfulness, and it worked. For me, it worked, and it stabilized my attention. I think it's just attention practice, really. And the way I look at it now, looking back, it seemed like it was almost like sowing the seeds for something to come later. First train your attention, because if you're just constantly, it's tricky to get into things like meditation when you're like that. So now, and I remember one time, I went to see, this is very long-winded, I apologize. I'll get to the end of this.
No, that's good. That's good.
All right. I went to see this, no, I went for a job interview, and it was a 3-day training course. So it was just some marketing thing I had to do. It was very boring. I wasn't interested in it at all. But I sat there and I listened to the whole thing, and I heard every word, which won't sound surprising to people, except for me. My attention span was so short that just listening to someone without drifting off was an
Wow.
impossibility. So I remember sitting there. Oh, really? You as well?
Whoa.
Oh, really?
Yeah, just describing me. Yeah.
I didn't know that. And so I remember just sitting there and thinking, I've heard every single word. I'm sitting on a chair comfortably. I'm not interested in any of it, by the way. But it wasn't so much that I was present or becoming spiritual. I remember thinking, oh, this must be what normal people experience.
Right.
But I felt I had to do all that work to get to a point of just being a bloke, being a fairly stable individual, which is wild. And then after that, and then more recently, things have kind of taken off in a different direction altogether. Shall I talk?
I think it takes that. I think more than not, a lot of that happens with this Kundalini. I think a lot of people have the same type of story. There's an ADD. I was never able to concentrate, and with me, it was meditation, and that was super helpful also. So, and I'm sure the yoga thing is exactly the same, but I hear that theme over and over, that I wasn't able to concentrate on anything. I think that's pointing to you're not the voice, this
Mm.
thing ramped up. And I think it's
Mm.
pointing. I really do.
Interesting. I didn't know it
Mhm.
was that common. I thought it was just me. That's very interesting. Yeah.
You are describing me.
Wow. Wow. Mm. Shall I, do you have another question or shall I talk about when the
Yeah, I
Kundalini?
have more. I have more. So let's talk about Kriya. Kriya is, for anyone who's watching this and doesn't understand, this energy can get so heavy that it can move the body.
Yes.
And you have a lot of great Kriya on your channel that people can check out.
Mm.
And that's why I messaged you in the first place, because I've never seen Kriya that hard. I mean, it's definitely Kriya that is, it grabbed my attention. It looks like almost it has a martial arts uh, flavor to it, almost like my Kriya is like it's Kali stuff. My tongue will come out and things like that, but it's all very feminine stuff like that.
Yeah.
Um, and when I watch your videos, I can see it's like, wow, it's almost like a martial arts thing, like someone in your lineage that whoever popped this for you did it through martial arts, maybe, or something like that. Does it feel like martial arts when it's happening to you?
It totally feels like martial arts. Yeah, because it's got that kind of quick twitch, rapid fire kind of, it comes out of nowhere. And what I love about my career, and this might be the whole point of the mark on my head, because I don't
Right.
know what this is. We'll talk about that later, but
You're getting there, yeah.
it might just be to point to someone for a second. So we all need to just check this out. This is what I'm thinking. It might be because the Kriya, the way they happen here, it's so quick. It's quite obvious that I'm not doing it. And the whole point
Right.
of when you have a Kundalini awakening, which is energy coming up the spine, opens up the chakras, it's kind of like a follow on from the practice of presence that I was doing. That's the way I see it. It came from practicing presence, from doing yoga. It's often awakened when you're doing something forceful, or a car accident, or a sudden jolt, or a death in the family. Some big shake up in your life can bring this about. But for me, it all happened very naturally, very organically. It felt I wasn't
Right.
practicing weird magical stuff, and I wasn't, So when it did, as soon as it happened, this energy kind of penetrated my body, and I just started shaking and shaking and shaking really forcefully. And I remember my mind repeating on a loop, I'm not going to shut up about this. I'm not going to shut up about this. I'm not going to, because what I was experiencing was so miraculous, so intense, so freeing, so much tight, knotted energy was being freed up, so much clearing, so much cleaning, so much love. And that might be something to do with this as well, because I did say to myself, and I don't even know if that was before the mark came about or not, but I just said, I'm not going to shut up about that. Was my passion. That was my drive as this was happening. I was like, right, this is what I'm doing now. I'm talking about this. So that's the inspiration, I think, to talk about this and raise awareness about it. But as you say, yeah, the Kriya, they came about straight away. There wasn't, it was just, yeah, I had this one night where all these knots came off of my back, and I've talked about this on a lot on my channel. I kind of flopped on the floor and I was dangling there, and then I felt really relaxed the next day. And about a week after, I was watching a theatre production, and then my shoulders started doing that really, and there were people in the room, people are watching, someone was behind me, but I couldn't stop it. I mean, I can stop it, I can control it, but it's got a real like, no,
Right.
it doesn't really take no for an answer. You can say to it, look, not now, let's do it later, and it will listen. That's the experience. But it wants to do what it's doing with such a dynamic energy that all you can do is trust it, have faith, lie down and watch it happen. And yeah, for me here, it looks like full on yoga. It could be as simple as like, I mean, today I was just doing this. It will go on for hours. This is my life now. I can't read a
Yeah.
book.
Oh,
I
yeah.
can't read a book. I open a book and I'm just
Right. Oh, yeah. Book reading is the worst.
and
Yeah.
yeah, and then later on in the process, as the energy starts to clear, and it's almost like it encapsulates more of your body. I could feel like little it would reach my hands and I could feel the little chakras coming on in my hands. I didn't know there were hand chakras,
Yes.
but like I feel an opening in my hand, absolutely bizarre. And just the body does not stop moving and it's just got more intense. So now I'm lying on my floor and yoga happens spontaneously. So of course the realization is that, oh, Kundalini created yoga for what, that's one realization,
Right.
rather than some man, in the old days going, I
Right.
think we should move like
It's not
this.
stretching.
Yeah, it happens automatically. The body does it. The body does it. And so now it's very
Amazing.
full on. It gets more and more full on. Sometimes it dies down. I think I have the sense that when I practice semen retention, it kind of ramps it up a lot. And now it's kind of turned into standing yoga and things like this, and very full on, lots of shouting, and very, very much like karate. I have a series of videos that I posted on my channel called
Right.
as a joke, as joke titles, I put like Mr. Miyagi on acid or Mr. Miyagi on meth, because it looks like extreme kind of mystical madness of some kind that I can't really explain. But
It's beautiful. Yeah.
thankfully, I enjoy it because I'm a yoga guy. I'm a physical guy. Thank God I'm into yoga, so I'm up for it, most of the time.
I've heard of people that will encounter this and then they can't sleep for extended periods of time because when they're sleeping. So I'm lucky too. I love it. I can't get enough of it. I eat it up. Everything, every experience, I'm always really interested. So since we're talking about, we brought up the mark today is really clear. So I
Yeah,
think it's a perfect time. Is it okay if we talk about it?
absolutely. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Should I just talk about it? Should I just go off on one about it?
Well, this is the first time that I've ever seen Kriya, the movement of the body through Kundalini, manifest something on the body. It's almost like it's drawn a picture on you. And that is fascinating. That's the first time I've ever seen that in 13 years. So tell us
Um,
about it.
Sure. Yeah. Well, it's been one of the most bizarre aspects of my process, I suppose. And that happened very quickly. It wasn't like things led up to that. This has been one of the most confusing things about my Kundalini awakening. I have to say, some people's Kundalini awakenings are awful. It's very common
Yeah.
for people to end up in the psych ward. I went to a meeting the other
Yes.
day, a non-duality meeting, and I talked about Kundalini. I asked a question about it, and the guy said, "Yeah, it's the body getting rid of tension and trauma and all that." Blah, blah, blah. But he said that energy is very powerful, and he said to me, I don't recommend you play with that energy because I have 3 friends who have ended up in the psych ward." He knew 3 people that have been locked up
Yeah.
because they're having,
There
and
are
it's not
people
understood.
tonight. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not understood by medical, by science. So
Right.
this is another reason to raise awareness about it. Loads of people are checking into psych wards. People don't know what's wrong with them. They're giving them tons of drugs, which is not what you want, I don't think, when you're going through this necessarily. There might be a time where it's appropriate. But so, absolute disaster. So that was a bit of a revelation for me because there's an occultist in my family, and I have this interest in magic through the Kundalini kind of led me to him. So I thought, oh, that's an interesting coincidental synchronistic thing. I seem to have like a DNA. My DNA seems to be primed for this type of awakening because I seem to come from this kind of background somewhere in my
Interesting.
ancestry. And and so I've had an interest in things like magic, and I've read about it, but there was always something in me that was just like, this is not for you, not right now, or not yet. Just leave this. And I think that relates to what I was saying with this guy saying, don't play with the energy. So I'm glad I haven't really got into that because the energy is so crazy just by itself.
Yeah.
And it's enough as it is. You don't want to start focusing on your third eye intentionally, like maybe I'll see some aliens, or hands off, laissez-faire is my attitude. I can't remember why. I can't remember how I diverged away from what we were talking about the mark, but anyway, I was trying to make one of my long-winded
That's okay.
emphasis. But anyway, going back to the mark, yeah, it started happening straight away. Yeah, basically, I was saying that yes, what I was saying was that my awakening has been, compared to other people's, really smooth and really enjoyable and really interesting, despite little moments of despair and worry and stress. On the whole, fascinating. So obviously, there's a lot of concern for people who are not having those experiences, and also there is an awareness that I will, go through some stuff at some point that is unavoidable. And that's, that's kind of might induce some fear. It might not, but anyway, I'm really making a long-winded thing of this. But what I wanted to say was that what surprised me about the mark is that it appeared on my head at the beginning of my awakening. Because the way I see that this in traditionally, in India, this is the mark of a master, right? People worship, people draw this mark on their faces as a form of worship, as a divine thing. So I was kind of like, originally I was like, oh well, there we go, I'm a Buddha, awesome, spiffing, I've somehow ascended, I've had an awakening, and I'm this complete spiritual enlightened being, and then I start, and then this process over the last nearly 3 years now has just been a process of continuous humility, because I thought at the big I started talking about non-duality, thinking I had a non-dual awakening, and having meetings about it and saying, yes, this is everything, and something in me was like, no, I don't understand all of this stuff. So, but I got confused because of this, because I felt incentivized to speak, and I'm sitting there on my chair like, and then I'm like, I don't know. After like a year or so, I was like, I don't really know what I'm talking about. So I had to backtrack. And now I come from a place where I'm a bit more, I don't know, a bit more humble, I
There's a
suppose.
humility in it.
Yeah,
Yes, and I've suffered from the same malady, the chosen one
right.
malady. Very easy because no one else is having these experiences around me, and I'm looking at people and seeing the inside of them, and um, there's a discernment that comes around. It's not smart, but there might be some emotional intelligence that starts to open. They call it wisdom, but I don't like that because I don't want to say I'm wise. But there's an emotional intelligence that starts to open. And when that did, I realized, wait a minute. So that's where the humility starts to come in.
Yeah,
And it's so pretty. It's so good.
yeah.
And
So
but it's
yeah, so
go
so
ahead.
that was the effect on the mark. That's been my continuous, not struggle, but kind of conundrum. Why is it there before I'm even remotely enlightened? What the hell? So going back to what we were saying earlier, the only thing I can think of is that I'm supposed to spread awareness about it. And I had a very interesting chat with a man called Dr. Daniel Ingram, and he is a fully enlightened being as far as one can be. He is a genius, and he's written a book called, I think I'm going to butcher it, but it's something like Deciphering the Core Teachings of the Buddha, something like that. Dr. Daniel Ingram, and his work is fantastic. He does all this. He's trying to, like me, he's trying to raise awareness, but very much in the medical profession. Like he's trying to fund things, projects, and he's trying to get the world, or certainly the scientific and medical world, to just get on board with
Beautiful.
Kundalini, or what could also be termed spiritual emergency. That's, I think, the technical term. If it ever gets written down in a official document, it probably won't be Kundalini, or probably something like
Double meaning, by
that.
the
Yeah,
way.
yeah. So, and he said to me during this talk, we only talked for about half an hour or something like that, I think. He said to me that I said to him, have you met people with marks? And he said he had. He said it's rare, but he had, and
Oh,
they tend to be performers. People are, and
cool.
I didn't really get that, but over time, you're ruminating over it. It started to make sense to me, because if you want to send someone up on a stage to talk about something, get a performer, get someone who's trained to get people's attention, get someone who's been for the last 20 years or so doing drama, going on stage, expressing themselves, standing, public speaking. People hate that. There's loads of people having Kundalini awakenings, but they don't like public speaking. And when you go into meetings, Zoom meetings about Kundalini, often they'll have their picture off, they won't even show their face. So I'm thinking maybe it's something to do with that, because I'm quite expressive, I'm quite confident. I'm kind of weird anyway. I was always seen as a bit of a weirdo. So here's me being weird again, going and talking about this. So that's the best I can come up with. That's the best I can come up with. But yeah, the real answer is I've no idea. I'm hoping to know more. I'm hoping to get spiritual visitations where characters and aliens come and go, this is what it's about and this is your purpose, but it hasn't happened yet, so we'll see.
Oh, buckle up, buddy. I've had the aliens. Amazing.
Yeah.
All right. Relationally, my relationship with people changed when this happened. I was a social person. I kind of like couldn't sit in my house alone without feeling like something was missing. I needed to be out with people and doing things. And when this began to happen, that very quickly shriveled up
Mm.
slowly. And I think that's another mainstay of this thing. Has that happened for you, and what goes on?
Yeah, that's definitely happened and it's continuing to happen. And it's something that I'm dealing with at the moment. It's very, yeah, I'm right in the middle of that. I've had to let some friendships go. Um, and sometimes I try and pick up the phone and rekindle it, and there's always feels like something's blocking. It does feel like, and it's very sad, and there doesn't seem to be much you can do about it. But the feeling, the vibe is just that Kundalini just picks you up, away from your friend or your friends, and just puts you somewhere else, and just kind of says, "I'm so sorry. This just doesn't jive anymore. You just need to go and do your own thing," and that's it. And you can cry about it, you can you can do whatever, you can try and contact these people. It's just not going to happen. I'm not saying it'll be like this for everyone. Running out of time. Okay, we might have 10 more minutes, I think. Yeah, 10 more minutes. um it's not necessarily going to be that for everyone, but it's very common from what I hear, and it's certainly been the case here. And yeah, this call to go within is just kind of something that over the last 3 years the dial has been turned up on this kind of inner. It feels sometimes like a black hole has opened up, and energy that was before interested in seeking and getting, and like you were saying, going out and reaching and having experiences, it's kind of folding in upon itself. And so these things that before you were reaching, they start to go away, and you're like, the first you're like, no, come back, why, but actually, it's like, no, it's like, you've got to go for now, you've got to go this way. So that's the way I see it. But it doesn't mean it isn't sad. It's sad, and I mean, it hasn't been too bad for me because I think I was quite a bit of a hermit anyway before this happened. For the last two
Oh,
years,
really? Okay.
yeah, I was a little bit. I'm not, I was starting to be a little bit more like, for example, I always wanted a girlfriend really badly, like to make me feel safe and secure and whole. That
Right.
was one way that I thought I would find my fulfillment. And then as this before the Kundalini awoke, I just started to go, you know what, I'm quite happy by myself. I'm just tired of chasing women, and just I'm tired of the chase. And so I started to spend a bit more time by myself anyway. So I was social, I did go out, I was a heavy drinker and I still drink. But it's funny now, I still go out, but I go by myself. It's kind of sad. I go and sit in a pub with a pint because I just find it, I quite enjoy I quite enjoy that. And it's not intentional. It's not like I've said to myself, I will now stay indoors and not go out, or this is just the way it seems to play out. This is just what's playing out. Like, there's no intention to either be a hermit or not, it just seems to go in that direction.
Right, right. It's very natural. A lot of things that felt unnatural become very natural after
Right.
this. It's really crazy. I want to talk about health because it's so important. I don't treat myself so well sometimes, but when I do treat myself very well, this thing seems to go berserk. And I do a lot of growth just through the body, just through the body. I met this guy. I walked right up to this guy and I said, Kundalini. And he got up and said, come outside with me. And he was a more mature gentleman. He had to be around his mid 70s, and he looked like me. I just turned 50, and he looked so good. I mean, but after talking to him for about 10 minutes, I could tell he was probably 70, 75, something like that. He popped in 1975. That's the year I was born.
Oh, wow.
But that, yeah. And so talking to him was really cool. But I could tell what he wanted to convey to me was health and, how much water are you drinking and all of
Mm.
that. So talk a little bit about that and the up and down. Sometimes we feel springy and sometimes we feel a little bit not so
Yeah.
springy.
Yeah.
What can you say about it?
Well, I learned from you, for one thing, that it kind of goes with the seasons a little bit. So you tend to feel springier in the spring, and then in the winter you kind of close off a little bit. You might be a bit depressed. You might be going something very internal, very needing to just pillows and covers and candles. But yeah, health, absolutely. I mean, my Kundalini awoke when I was doing full on hardcore yoga in a heated environment in a 37-degree sauna, and I was being very healthy, and I've kept that up. I mean, yeah, like I said, I go out, I drink beer. A lot of people, the moment they have an awakening, all that stops. Or some people try and sip alcohol and suddenly it tastes like poison and they just can't do it. I've never had a problem with it, but I am, over time, I am cutting down and having longer periods without it, and longer periods where I'm fasting. I'm just watching what I eat more, and the quantities as well. I was eating so much more than I needed to before, than so much more than my body wanted. And it's kind of, and that's something that comes about organically over time. Your body starts to change, your needs start to change. But yeah, I would say health is paramount. And you can't, I mean, yoga, fantastic movement, all this stuff is brilliant. There's always been a connection between Kundalini and yoga. I was going to say something there, but I suddenly forgot. Never mind. Yeah, but yeah, health goes absolutely hand in hand with this, because, like you say, it just means it can work on your body in a better way, in a faster way as well. And if when you're very unhealthy, or if you're drinking too much, or if you're eating bad food, it just slows everything down. It will make you feel groggy. It will make you feel sluggish, and you'll probably bounce back at some point, but you're slowing down the process. You're not doing your body any good. So yeah, health goes hand in hand, and just finding things that your body likes. Your body starts to tell you what it likes. I drink, spirulina. It's like a
Yeah.
green
Oh,
pond.
yeah.
If I have a glass of that now, it goes straight to my third eye. It's the weirdest thing. I down a glass of it and I feel it in my brain. I don't know how that works, but it's bizarre. Yeah.
Whoa.
There's
I
my
love it.
recommendation for
I
everyone:
love it.
spirulina.
It eats all the bad bacteria in your tummy too. It's very
Oh, does
good.
it? Oh,
Yeah, it'll make you. Yeah, it will. This will gently or not so gently let you know where we're headed. You
yeah,
may kick and scream a little bit, but
yeah,
my body, once I eat these terrible things, I'm going to feel this way for a whole day. And it's just naturally, I'm like, wait a minute, can I get some spirulina?
yeah, yeah,
So uh, it's beautiful, it's gentle, and it's fierce. It really
yes.
is. You've run me out of questions, my friend.
Oh, well, mate, perfect, because we've only got 3.5 minutes more on the clock, so that worked out well. Um,
All right. Wonderful.
so we need to say anything in terms of final words, or
Well, next time, I think this is open. I think we could do something. We both love non-duality. I'm not saying we could teach anything about it, but I'd love to talk about it. I'd love for you to talk about yoga, and I would love to talk about meditation and what it means to me. So maybe we can do some stuff like that next.
brilliant. I would love that. I would love that. And I would love to talk to you specifically about non-duality, because when I talk to you about it, we tend to talk about teachers and things, but I've never really got your opinion on it, or not for very long. So I think that'll be a great one.
Yeah, part three.
Part three, yes, coming soon to a theater in your home. All right,
I
should we wrap up there?
think that's it.
Splendid. Good to see you, my friend.
All right. Thanks, man.
All right, catch you
Bye,
later,
brother.
man. Bye bye. Okay, I need to stop that.